Welcome back to Sommelier, your tastemaker for every little thing. And today we're going to be talking about fine jewelry or high jewelry, depending on what you want to call it, but you get the point. These big elaborate pieces that you might see on red carpets, you might see on royalty. Let's talk about where it came from, and let's talk about where you might be able to find something like this and like why it's not made as often anymore. So, little story time. I read this book right here. It's called The Cartiers. It is by Francesca Cartier-Brickell, who is a member of the Cartier family. And this was my favorite read of 2022. Everyone in my life at that time knows I absolutely raved about this book. I read it on audiobook, but it was so good. And I liked it for a lot of reasons. It talks about just a family story. It's a family story. It's a family business story. But more instructive to me specifically was the history of the fine jewelry business and why fine jewelry is kind of sort of not something that people can buy. Actually, I think inside the book they phrased it perfectly. Pierre Cartier once said, "A jewel that is classic in design, that contains stones of good quality, always remains an object of beauty. It can be worn for years and be admired as much as 25 years afterward as it was when it was first created." And really, truer words cannot be said. And now, I don't know about y'all, but when I was young, I always thought that maybe one day I can have my own diamond necklace or like a beautiful diamond ring. Like, I thought diamonds were something that grown-ups were allowed to have, or like it just felt like it was just a lot more accessible in the past to have these really beautiful bespoke pieces of jewelry that you can pass down from generation to generation to generation. But upon my adulthood, I realized, that's not really reflective of reality, unfortunately. And I wanted to understand why. And so this book was incredibly instructive. And now I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about what I have been able to glean, not only after reading this Cartier book, but also just being kind of interested in collecting some real diamond pieces for myself. Anyway, let's talk about the difference between like fine jewelry and what we might call like regular jewelry. So fine jewelry is stuff like this. These are big stones. These are elaborate pieces, and they are made to be seen, okay? You see these types of pieces on celebrities, you see these types of pieces in really big and important shows or award shows, halftime shows, you name it. This is where famous celebrity weddings, but you get the idea. These are big, beautiful stones. And the other thing about stuff like this, it has to be specifically designed, right? You cannot, like people, you can see the intricacies in the craftsmanship here. Someone has to work with all the teeny tiny stones. Someone has to be able to know how to work with real stones like this and save as much of the precious metals and precious stones as possible and create them in this beauty and cut them, and just, you get it. It's a big, it's an endeavor. It's a specific and defined skill set to be able to make something like this. And a little bit of a history lesson, back in the day, people used to know how to do that. At least more people used to know how to do that. Again, the Cartier book talks about how the Cartier family learned how to work with stones and but it used to be that there were more royalty, just period. There were the Romanovs, there were a whole bunch of different royal families. I'm talking back in the 1800s and early 1900s. There used to be a real market for this, not only the actual royalty themselves, the families, but the people in their surrounding courts who could afford it. And just people used to really spend a lot of money to have something unique and custom made for them to be seen at events like coronations or birthday parties or just basically rich people stuff. Rich people events and activities people used to have. Now keep in mind, back in the 1800s and 1900s, the rich were a lot richer than the rich we think of now. Like, we think of rich people and we think of like the top 5 wealthiest people in the world. Think about if it was like the top, let's say like 1,000 people in the world who were not billionaires, but they were all multi-millionaires. It's like the space between the rich and the poor was just a lot farther, so there were less people in the middle, and the rich were really rich and the poor were really poor, and that's just the way things are. In modern day times, it's not quite as sparse. I'm not saying it's better, but there is a middle class that exists, and back in the day, there wasn't really a middle class that exists. And that, funnily enough, is the answer to why stuff like this isn't found or created anymore, because the middle class are people who are interested and have the disposable income for jewelry, but are not going to be spending upwards of $500,000, $1 million plus for beautiful bespoke pieces like this. Which on the one hand is a shame because less people are really being taught the craft of making fine jewelry. But on the other hand, people like you and me, or just people in general, can afford to buy something really, really nice, but that isn't quite like the best money can buy. You still get really beautiful jewelry from places like Pandora and just other or just at the mall that are really, really nice and really made with a lot of craftsmanship and a lot of care and a lot of heart, but just aren't made with the most expensive materials available. Which, by the way, is what high jewelry is. High jewelry is jewelry that is made with the most expensive material available, the most high quality silver, the most high quality platinum, the most high quality gems that you can get, and often the largest. Let's talk another reason why jewelry like this isn't made. It's because the jewelry market today isn't focused on making beautiful bespoke art. It's focused on mass production. It's focused on selling as much of this stuff as possible. And as beautiful and awesome as a piece like this there isn't that large of a market of someone who could A, afford it, and B, would want it, because it is incredibly rare. You run the risk of getting it robbed. And actually they had this issue with a diamond that I don't remember the name of in this book, but basically it was so expensive and so large that they couldn't, and people's fortunes changed. Like at one point you're rich and then all of a sudden you lost your money and now people are trying to sell their expensive gems. And basically it's just really, really difficult to there isn't a large market of people who can afford something like this. And so it's just not economically sound for a lot of businesses to invest the amount of money and capital into making stuff like this, which of course makes it all the more rare. Like, you can't really buy stuff like this. You can rent it. All the celebrities you see on the red carpet wearing things like this, they are renting their jewelry. But that just makes it all the more special and unique. It makes it all the more interesting to see if you see it in the wild, just so you know. And if you guys are interested or having fun watching the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We're having a great time, right? Don't you want more of this content? Don't you want to see more of me? I know you do. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. All right, back to our regularly scheduled program. Anyway, I'm talking a lot. Let's talk about where you might be able to find something like this. So let's start with the top, estate sales. Stuff like this is usually a family heirloom where it was made or someone in the family used to have money, and then it is passed down from generation to generation to generation, and people either forget, don't know about it, or they just sell it because it's worth so much money as time goes on, because again, stuff like this just isn't made anymore. So yeah, estate sales is a great place to check it out. I would also say places like the same place you might get a Birkin, like The Real, or just resale sites. But again, it's something really, really, really exquisite like this. I'm not gonna like curtail it. Maybe The Real or Vestiaire or one of these resale sites might have something, but it's gonna be crazy expensive. So just be warned. Vintage shops, that's another one. Vintage shops is another great place. And also, let's talk about people who own stuff like this in today's world. So there are jewelry collectors who understand kind of the art or just appreciate the beauty, la 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 la. There are museums. You can see a lot of these really fine jewels in museums if you want to see them in real life. I'll name a couple of them on the screen, a couple of museums you can go to. And then people with high quality collections are the jewelry companies that you've probably heard of. So Cartier, Bulgari, Tiffany, these all have like high jewelry collections. Oh, and then Lorraine Schwartz, Bulgari, these are all jewelry companies that, these are all jewelry companies that have high jewelry collections. And some of them you can actually go on their website and shop for some of their high jewelry. I think Van Cleef is another one that has a high jewelry collection. Most of them do, because it's very high shelf to do. But yeah, it's just something that is not really attainable or economical for a lot of people, but you can get, with a little bit of creativity and a little bit of focus, you might be able to start building up some of your fine jewelry repertoire yourself by checking out some of those sites I mentioned. People like myself, we're more interested in getting like the look of the jewelry. I know for me, I do not need a $500,000 necklace. I would like one for anyone watching this, but for the most part, people like that are in the middle class or just regular people, the majority of people are interested in getting more of the look that the jewelry provides to like an upscale outfit, more so than having the actual jewelry itself. However, it is important to know that the jewelry itself is out there and is made. If you are interested in getting some bespoke jewelry made, if you have the money to do something like that, it is possible. Again, you're gonna be paying a lot of money, but I would go and ask a sales associate at any of these jewelry stores that I have mentioned earlier, just to see how much something like that might cost if you have a special occasion, maybe a 50th wedding anniversary or a wedding itself, or whatever your special occasion might be. It might be a beautiful and awesome way to have a memento to the occasion, getting some custom jewelry made. And I will do a future episode on this later about bridal boxes to give you guys some ideas about what you might include in a bridal box, and what a cool and awesome thing it might be to have custom jewelry made for your bridesmaids or your bridal party or whatever. So with that being said, I just wanted you guys to be aware of fine jewelry. It's a little bit more than an accessory. A lot of these are true works of art and they are incredibly rare. Probably the rarest thing I've talked about on this channel thus far because it is beautiful. It is made of things that are very difficult to find. Whether you're buying it yourself or passing it down, these pieces hold far beyond their price tag. So please let me know in the comments what you guys think. I have a lot of thoughts about fine jewelry, but I don't want to make this too long. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye for now.